The Wally Show podcast is our daily radio show heard live through the WayFM app each morning and hosted by Wally, Gavin, and me, Betty Rock. For more fun, be sure to connect with us at wayfm.com/Wally.
The Wally Show podcast is brought to you by Colorado Christian University Online, where you can earn a degree online just like Betty Rock. You can learn more at ccu.edu/Wally. Things you didn't know you needed to know today. It's News-ish with Betty.
It truly is amazing the ability that dogs have to track animals, items, and humans just by using their sense of smell. And we see this ability especially utilized with police canines to sniff out the bad guy.
It's pretty amazing that dogs have such a great sense of smell, but they cannot smell themselves. Like, they don't realize dog smell and how bad it actually is.
It's rough. Now, you and I, we aren't dog owners, but Gavin is. Do you think that they could, either one of them could be a canine?
Could they find something?
Canine?
Probably Jasper, because he's the most curious dog, and I feel like curiosity leads well into the sniff ability, and he sniffs a lot of things.
But in this case, it's a bit different. Recently in North Carolina, a call came in from a concerned citizen saying that there was a 6-year-old autistic child found walking on the side of the road and was obviously lost. And because of his autism, the child couldn't communicate and tell police where he lived. So what do? Well, they call in Remi. Remi is a full-blooded bloodhound who started his training with the North Carolina police at only 8 weeks old.
Oh, that's so cute.
Itty-bitty puppy. And he was really good at sniffing things out. So the police thought Remi could help by sniffing the child and then backtracking his scent. So typically,
That's
they will
ingenious.
they'll give, like if they want to find somebody, they'll go to the location, find an item, give that to the dog, and then they'll find that person. But in this case, it was backwards. Well, Remi smelt the child and was able to backtrack his scent to the house the child had wandered from, and it worked. The child had wandered away about half a mile.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Remi was able to do it. He was able to, because of his special ability, he was able to reunite the child with their parents, making him a hero.
That is really a fascinating idea. I would have never thought of that. I would have been like, if I was like the police chief there, I'd been like, I guess we're raising this kid, let's take him to the station.
And that's why you're an amateur.
Exactly.
First responder.
100%.
So what is TikTok and how do you use it?
This is something that I actually found on TikTok. Believe it or not, hey, it's the Wally Show on Uplifting WayFM, and there are pastors on there. There's this guy, Kelly Kay, that I like, the Josh Howerton that I like, and he had a perspective that I had never heard before on the verse in Matthew 5 about if your eye causes you to sin, you need to pluck that bad boy out.
For years as a pastor, I taught that Jesus was just using hyperbole to tell us to take sin so seriously that we were willing to commit a radical amputation of anything in our life that causes us to sin. While that's true, the meaning is deeper and it is mind-blowing. So in the verse immediately before, Jesus mentions another body part when he says, if anybody lusts, they've committed adultery in their heart. Imagine a lustful man that touches a woman inappropriately, so he cuts off his hands. But then he realizes, man, I can still lust with my eyes, so he cuts out his eyes. But then he realizes he can still say sinful things, cuts out his tongue. And then he realizes he can still listen to things that stir lust, cuts off his ears. And on and on and on it goes, and he never seems to be able to cut off the part of him that causes him to sin. Jesus is saying, in order to do that, you're going to need to cut out your heart, and I can do that for you. And I'm going to put a new spirit inside you. I'll remove your old heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. Christianity is not primarily behavior modification. It's about heart transformation.
See, that's exactly it. Like, we talk about it all the time. Well, you got to stop doing this, stop doing this, stop doing this. And you're curtailing, the desire to do something, but the desire is still there. And it's not till you exchange that desire in your heart for a new desire being Christ that you actually change. And so there you go. I thought that was great, and I can't believe I found it on the old TikTok.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
So Gavin is the sports guy here on the Wally Show on Uplifting Way FM, and Betty Rock and I are not so sporty, watching or stats and everything like that. But every once in a while, Gavin will find something he wants to bring to us that is not sporty-ish, but it is sports related.
Yes, this is.
I don't know the difference between sportsy and sporty-ish.
You don't, really?
Yay, sports!
Yeah, see, it seems so obvious. I thought I was speaking your language there.
So this is a yay sports for an LSU quarterback. Garrett Nussmeier was the backup QB for 2 years before becoming the starting quarterback for LSU, Louisiana State University. He said, when I was making my decision out of high school of where to go to school, I felt there was a lot of prayer involved. That's awesome. And God brought me to LSU for a reason. I didn't feel like it was my time to just pack up and leave. I felt like it was my duty to just keep my head down and trust in his timing and just work. I know God's timing is always right. Because nowadays with college sports, the ability to transfer schools is easier than ever. So this kid could have said, no, I'm not going to be patient. I'm going to go find
starting
where I can be the starting quarterback, where he puts himself as the focal part of the narrative. And it's hard, I think, to wait. This guy waited 2 years. It's hard to wait and do the work.
That's super mature for a 20-year-old, too, to understand God's role in your life and that waiting is sometimes part of your story.
Yeah, you could imagine a 40-year-old telling that story of waiting, but for this kid, that's awesome. He said, I've grown a lot closer to God and got to experience different things through my relationship with him, too. He told reporters that I had to learn to put a lot more trust in him, and I think everything happens for a reason. God's timing is always right, so it was learning to accept that and put all my trust and all my faith in him. And now he's the starting quarterback. So all of that patience, all of that hard work is paying off for him.
See, I think that's cool, man, because that knowledge is going to carry him farther than anything he does on the football field in his career. And it's already been ingrained in him from the time he was young. Mm-hmm. You know, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. You got to know his parents are also putting that into him, like this doesn't happen by accident that you have that kind of faith at that age.
I like the role that he is playing in the kids that are looking up to him.
Yeah.
Kids like Gavin, that are looking up to the 20-year-old.
I'm literally like 8 years older than this guy.
But if you look at all the heroes in the Bible, there was always a time of waiting and preparation, and not so much for them to get stronger physically for some sort of battle, but rather for them to grow spiritually closer to God, to prepare them for what God was ultimately going to do through them. And that might be the exact same story for this kid too. So there you go. I think we should say it all together. Yay, sports!
Betty.
It would have been better with you, Betty, in there.
Okay, let's do it again.
Yay, sports! Atta girl.
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today.
Marriage is a journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint. There you go. That's advice number 1 on Marriage Masterclass here on the Wally Show on Uplifting Way FM. It's my wise 32 years in the game, as it were. I got a question. Today's Marriage Masterclass actually comes from a question that a lady had sent me. She says, hey, as your wife and you age together in marriage, how do you continue to find her attractive and beautiful? Proverbs 31 says, charm is deceitful and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears God is to be praised. I trust my husband. I've talked with him about this, but sometimes I still fear that he will be drawn towards younger, more beautiful women as we age, or that somehow he would wish that he could start all over again with those butterflies. I work hard to take care of myself, and I know I'm going to eventually wrinkle and gray. We are now in our 30s, and I'm just curious how you and your wife feel towards each other, versus when you were younger.
That's a great question.
It's an honest question, honestly, because this is an area like physicality that people struggle with in their marriages. And I think that for me, it really does come back down to, if that's all you base your marriage on is looks, you are in trouble because they fade. And like, how can I have expectations on my wife's looks if I don't have them on myself? Because I have a mirror too,
Right.
And so she and I are working together to both lose weight and feel better, about ourselves, and so that's good to do that together. But like, I always remind myself of my wife's unwavering loyalty to me. Like, she has been consistent in loving me, and that alone makes her more attractive.
Yeah, because I don't think there are many women that would be able to do that.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, few and far between.
Yeah, well, let's not oversell it here.
I mean, like maybe 1 in a quadrillion. Your mom and Marty is really what I'm saying.
Yeah, like she, again, I look at her and I see that kind of like how when Jesus looks at us and he doesn't see our sin, he sees Jesus. I look at her and I don't see the wrinkles, I see the commitment. And I see what she has done and how she has proven herself consistently, time and time again. And that, to me, is a thing of beauty. We're all going to get wrinkles. She's real self-conscious about hers. But to me, like, I look at that stuff and I'm like, those are all, it's just like stories of a life well-lived and well-lived long together, you know? And plus, younger women, drama. It ain't worth it. It is not worth the headaches.
That's a lot of drama.
So I think the advice, though, for guys is make sure that you always make your wife feel beautiful and valued and cherished. Because if you do that, she's going to respond to you in different ways. That's going to end up helping make your marriage even stronger, you know? And so that's my marriage masterclass today based on this question. Betty's love of crime shows has me concerned because I think that she's not learning how to protect herself, but rather how to set me up for a crime.
Oh, I for sure am.
It's a Gone Girl situation is what I'm thinking.
I'm glad I've got you right where I want you.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. You know, you need someone in your life that will set you up for success, not failure.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I felt with CCU. I mean, I felt intimidated considering going back to school as an adult after being out for so long, but I was set up for success with CCU from my first conversation all the way to graduation. Most classes are only 5 weeks long, which means you can earn your degree and still have time to do whatever you want.
Yeah, 5-week classes, that's even good for people with like ADHD. Like for me, I know I needed short classes so I could focus when I went back to school because Betty Rock and I kind of lived the same life.
Find out more about how you can pursue your passion and find your calling with Colorado Christian University at online.ccu.edu. Colorado Christian University is a nonprofit impact partner.
Breaking news can be heartbreaking, so we like to do news-ish on The Wally Show.
So before Alexis Smith was crowned Miss Kansas in June, she informed the audience members of what her platform would be or what she envisioned for herself as the title holder if she were to win. And this clip kind of went viral because she was really gut level honest. She said, "My vision as the next Miss Kansas is to eliminate unhealthy and abusive relationships." Before adding to this thing, she said, "Matter of fact, some of you in the audience saw me very emotional because my abuser is here today."
Oh.
But that's what I did too when I saw this story, because it's more than just a platform.
Yeah.
It's her living out this life, and right in front of her while she's having this moment. And
Whoa.
here's this person.
Wonder who it is.
I know. She didn't really go into the detail. It's not about the tea here, Rock, today.
Okay, sorry.
But she said it's not going to stop me from being Miss Kansas on this stage and from representing Miss Kansas. I want my community to have the healthy relationships that they deserve, and we deserve a domestic violence-free life. And so, yeah, it's crazy. On that night that she was there, she said that my journey took an unexpected turn when someone I've been healing from tried to disrupt my peace. So this is somebody that is not like still in her life, but showed up to kind of undo her.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a
Interesting.
lot, man. It's a sad statistic too. 41% of women say they have been in some way physically, emotionally, or psychologically abused from a partner. So someone that they were involved with, not a stranger. That's a high number. That's a sad number. And so this woman here using this moment to give advice and courage to other women, I think is great, because the way it ends is when people share their story and they say enough is enough and empower other women to do the same. You know, because this should never happen. I mean, part of this falls on the breakdown of family and men not being godly men and not raising their sons in a way to teach them right from wrong.
And how to treat a woman.
Yeah, we're completely culpable in this problem, you know? And if we were to change that, I think we would change society. But until then, women are going to have to own their own and help themselves, unfortunately, you know? And I'm so thankful my daughter found a guy that was taught how to treat her so that this is not an issue for her. But I have had cousins and things like that in my life that have been through this. And it was so sad to see this girl that I grew up with and watch her be devalued and start to believe that. That was the hardest thing. I'm like, why are you still in this? Why are you going back? I don't understand this. She didn't felt she had any options, or she felt like she had been broken down mentally to somehow believe this is what she deserved. And it's like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, if you're in that cycle, you have been lied to and you've been led to believe this, and that breaks my heart for you, but you do not deserve this and do not accept this. It might be hard, it might be scary, but breaking these cycles will only help to serve the future for your kids, and show them what is important and what you can do and what you should and should not tolerate. So it helps you and it helps your kids and your family. I know that's easy for me as a guy to say, but I have some experience with it in my family. So anyway, that's going to do it for your news for this hour. Oftentimes in Christian circles, we talk about faith being a journey, your faith journey. Hey, it's the Wally Show on Uplifting Way FM. And I think that's because you don't ever get to a place where you have it all completely 100% put together. Because if you did, you wouldn't need Jesus. We're never going to attain perfection.
Nope.
And so I think that we have questions along the way within our faith, or trying to understand God and our relationship with him. And I appreciate honest questions. I really do. I think that's important to ask. And so I got this question the other day and said somebody that's like, I've been struggling with feeling like less than. Like, why would Jesus love me? I'm never going to be good enough for God to love me. Now, I know in my soul that it's not true, and I know that he loves me, but I still struggle with this. And so it's like a misconception about God that he could, not love you, or that you've done something so bad that there's no way he could forgive you.
I think we've all found ourselves there as Christians. I mean, we know, and two, we take our relationship with God and we kind of compare it to our relationships with human beings. And so we know like an earthly relationship, it's like, well, if you mess up too many times, then you're dead to that person. But that's not the case for God. And yeah, we aren't perfect. We'll never be perfect. And thank goodness it's not based on how perfect we can be. It's based off of his grace. And that's the good thing about it.
We don't fully understand unconditional love, because when we get married, we say, I'm going to love you unconditionally. We can't.
And
we're
then
not
they
capable
start
of that.
breathing the wrong way and smacking their food.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not capable of that. We try and we should aspire to it, but we're not built like that. And so I do want to talk about this with you right now. 855-33-WAY-FM. That's 855-33-WAY-FM. What is something that maybe you struggled with in your faith that was kind of a misconception like this, that, I've done something that God can't love me. He can never forgive me for this, or something to that effect. Like, what was that thing that you had to learn that was truth about God, but maybe it took you a little while, or it took some insight, or it took God just revealing something in your own life and in your own soul that this is how it really is. So 855-33-WAY-FM is the number. If you want to be on the show, we love having these conversations, because your thoughts on this, I guarantee you weren't the only one that felt this, might be exactly what somebody else needs to hear today. So here we go, 855-33-WAY-FM. Have you ever had a misconception about your faith that you kind of had to deal with?
Yeah, absolutely. I got divorced about 4 years ago now, and the whole process of getting divorced and being the one that's leaving was really hard on me, because in my eyes and as a Christian, once you get married, it's forever. So it's something that I had to talk to my pastor about and really sort through, because I felt like I was failing God.
Yeah, that is one of the things that's tricky, because a lot of people go to the Bible and go, God hates divorce. Yeah, but he also hates a lot of other things that I do that are wrong too, And so while we tend to elevate the different mistakes or sins or whatever you want to call it, before God, it's all the same to him. So you having a problem in your marriage and it ending up in divorce is no different than any sin that I would struggle with, And I think there's a tendency to think, well, we've written ourselves off and, well, I guess we're done. But that's the beauty of God, is that he not only forgives, but he restores.
Absolutely. And he loves us so much that even like in the midst of my darkest moments, he used that to like now bring me a life that I never thought I could even imagine. His glory and his patience with us and his love for us is unlike anything that anybody in this world could provide.
So, Vicky, what was a misconception maybe that you had about God?
Okay, when I was 16 years old, I had an abortion, and I didn't really understand then what I did. And then years later, when I realized that I had taken a life, I felt so much like I did not deserve God's forgiveness. And I was so full of shame and guilt that I just thought, how's he ever going to forgive me for this? But I met a lady that was the director of our pregnancy center. It was over 40 years later. And she helped me to go through post-abortive counseling and to realize that God did not want me to carry this around and that he forgave me the first time I asked him.
See, that's the thing about God's forgiveness. We try to equate it the best way we can to human forgiveness, and it's just not the same. You're right. The minute you ask for forgiveness, it's done and it's settled with God. And the Bible says he chooses to remember it no more. He puts it as far as east is from west.
The hard part is forgiving yourself.
Yes.
But God tells us to forgive everyone, and we're part of that.
Well, I love it. I appreciate you sharing that today. I appreciate your honesty and openness with this because, you know, it's not an easy subject, but it's a real honest subject and one that probably somebody is in the midst of still dealing with today, and you might have just helped them get freedom. So thank you.
If you are dealing with this, please find help. Please get healing because God wants to touch you in that way.
What's yours, Jackie?
Hey, so I would think that I had to, like, earn different levels of his love. Like, whenever I would sin, I'd be like, oh, God must love me less. And I didn't even realize that until I heard a song, and it was like, I could never be more loved than I am right now.
Oh, yeah, that song from Elevation Worship and Maverick City Music.
Does it take a trophy to make you proud? I'll never be more loved than I am right now.
And in Romans 5:8, it says, but while we were still sinners, he died for us. And it's like there's no point where I have to earn anything from God because it's all freely given. It's just realizing that was a really big misconception I didn't even realize I had subconsciously.
No, I totally get that because, like, the salvation part of our story seems really easy. Okay, so God died for my sins. I'm a sinner. Boom, done. But then there comes the performance aspect now where we're like, okay, now that I'm a believer and I'm saved, now I have to continue to earn his love through all these things that I do. And the reality is there's nothing that we can do to make him love us any more or less than he already does, especially once we come into salvation, because all he sees is Jesus when he looks at us.
Yeah, and I just think it's the most beautiful thing, and living my life in that freedom. The reason I don't do things or I stay away from sin is because I love him so much, not because I have to earn his love. It's completely like flipped the way I look at things.
There you go. You are right on point, and I guarantee you that's something that somebody that's listening right now is dealing with, and I think you probably just helped them out, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Things you didn't know you needed to know today. It's News-ish with Gavin.
I would argue that flying has become a lot more stressful over the last few years.
And few days.
Yes, I would say
especially.
that last Friday didn't help at all as the world experienced a global like cyber outage due to CrowdStrike having a company called CrowdStrike having an update that impacted a bunch of Microsoft things, and that focused in on, and it had dealt a lot of issues to airline companies, including Delta Airlines, who to this day continues to struggle to recover from all of the cancellations and delays that happened last weekend. They have literally, we just saw this on TV, they have canceled over 5,000 flights since last Friday.
This is what happened to Southwest during Christmas last year, and everyone hated on them. And it's the same thing with Delta. They got hit hardest by it, and they are trying to climb out of it. Hopefully, they will be all completely climbed out of it and fixed tomorrow when I fly Delta for a wedding.
This is just so specifically geared towards you. Maybe this is God testing your patience and your faith in him. But Delta's CEO said that they are it's one of those things. They are continuing to work through the issue, trying to get back. I understand it. Like, it's not something you can just reboot the computer and everything's okay. You're going to have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who are trying to basically rebook or reorganize.
I don't see how they ever get back on track, honestly. Like, that ripple effect that goes out, and then it takes hours to get an answer, and then usually the answer is, sorry, not our fault.
When we just saw something, too, that said that, what are your passengers' rights? So they will refund you, they'll rebook you, they'll do all these things, these things that sound
doing their part.
Like they'll help you in that moment. But in reality, these are companies, you're not the only person dealing with this, so they're dealing with a ton of people with this. So you're probably going to be on hold for a while. I'm just sorry if you're experiencing that. They say, again, they're hoping that within the next couple of days, which is within that realm is when Wally is flying, is when they hope to be back on track. They said that customers are obviously fuming because they've had to, with delays, they've been hanging out in airports, and some people have even been, pivoting to renting cars, which would you...
I can't. It's a 24-hour drive. I got to go to Utah.
Please.
It's a 24... I don't want to drive for 24 hours.
Betty is finding so much joy in your pain here.
I know. That's kind of her life. You know what? If this is the only thing that makes her happy, then I'm glad I could be that for you. So anyway, if you are traveling, obviously pack your patience. And if you see someone that may or may not be wearing a Wally Show t-shirt in the Nashville airport going nuts.
Shirt.
I'm doing it today.
Wow.
Or if you just see a guy that looks like me going nuts in the airport because something has gone really wrong, it's not me.
Okay.
It's not the best version of me anyway. You have a chance to win a prize right now here on The Wally Show on Uplifting Way FM, and all you have to do is beat Betty's brain.
Ooh,
Not
you
easy to do.
don't have to say it like that. Make it a little bit more happy.
Beat Betty's brain.
Yeah.
That's fun.
At least it sounds better.
Yeah, so just get past her brain. The way it works is I have 5 questions. I'm going to ask Betty to step out of the room. You're going to get the same 5 questions, and then all you have to do is get more right than she gets, and if you do that, you win a prize. We have some science questions today. Yes. We have some animal questions.
Oh, I love animals.
You love animals. Yes, and so we're going to ask those, and history.
It's dicey.
Yeah, so it could go either way. So those are the categories for today. If you want to play Beat Betty's Brain, all you have to do is call 855-33-WAY-FM. Again, to beat Betty's brain.
Okay, say it a little bit nicer.
Beat Betty's brain in. 855.
No, doesn't that need to add in?
Yeah, in makes it worse. It's funny how you can add one word and it goes, that got dark.
Yeah, hilarious.
855-33-WAY-FM. That's 855-33 if you think you can beat Betty's brain. Stacia, welcome to the Wally Show, and we are going to play Beat Betty's Brain. So are you ready to beat Betty's brain?
I am. I'm trying my hardest.
I love it. No girl code here. So the way it works is I have the 5 same questions for you. I'm going to ask Betty Rock to take her heating blanket off and her headphones off and step out of the studio. She's kind of a princess where she cannot hear your questions. We'll ask you your questions. You see how many you get right, and then she has to get more right than you if she wants to win. But if you get more right than her, you win. So here we go. We're on the clock now. How many colors are there in a rainbow?
6.
What is the periodic symbol for potassium?
K.
What type of whale is actually a dolphin?
What type of whale? Well, all dolphins are whales, but not all whales are dolphins. And I'm trying to remember. I would say an orca.
Who was the Queen of France during the French Revolution?
I don't know.
It's the let them eat cake lady.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Okay.
That's the only one I can think of.
All right, you got one more question here. What year was the moon landing?
1969.
Okay, well, we got your answers. Nicely done. You got 3 out of 5. We'll go over which ones you got right after Betty. So 3 out of 5. Trust me, don't go, that's probably pretty good knowing Betty. So let me get her in here. Betty Rock! Well, I have to get you back in here so you can hear me. Okay, so she did pretty well.
Dang it.
You have to beat 3 out of 5.
3 out of... Okay.
Yep. So here we go with your questions. How many colors are there in a rainbow?
8.
Okay. What is the periodic symbol for potassium?
PT.
Okay. What type of whale is actually a dolphin?
Killer.
Killer whale or orca? Okay. Who was the Queen of France during the French Revolution?
Elizabeth.
Okay. And what year was the moon landing?
1969.
All right. Well, I do have to say this. I was surprised that you got any of these right.
That's rude.
You had to beat 3, and yet you only got 2 right.
But I got 2 right?
That is
Wow.
way glass half full right there looking at it, Rock. Stacia, you actually win today. Congratulations.
Thank you. That's a surprise.
Which ones did Stacia get right?
You both missed how many colors are in a rainbow. She said 6, you said 8, it's 7. Roy G. Biv.
7. Yeah.
Periodic symbol for potassium, you said PT, she said K, it's K.
Dadgummit.
The dolphin, the whale
Killer.
dolphin, you guys both got it right. It's an orca.
Yes.
I was surprised about that. Queen of France during the French Revolution, Marie Antoinette, the let them eat cake lady.
Oh, did Stacia get that?
Yeah, you both missed that. And you both got the moon landing right.
Hey, that was a total guess.
Was it really?
Yeah. I knew
Well,
it was in the 60s. That's all I knew.
Congratulations, Stacia. You got 1 more right than Betty. You were able to beat her brain, and you're a winner today on WayFM.
Thank you very much.
Every Tuesday, we go back in time musically here with Time Capsule Tuesday. We pick a year, then each of us pick a song that we like from that year, and your job is to tell us which of those songs kind of connects with you and why. Like, what do you remember about it? Why did you like it? Who has the best taste in music? And I'm going to start off by apologizing right out of the gate for this. I am sorry. First of all, what year are we going to, Rock?
We're going back to 2006.
I am so sorry that I picked the best song in 2006, hands down.
Whoa, bold statement.
So I know, but I think a lot of people would agree with me. It is Flyleaf, All Around Me.
I can feel you all around me, thickening the air, breathing, holding on to
2006 was a year that gave us some great chick rock, like there was this band Flyleaf, and then you had, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
Barlow Girl?
Barlow Girl.
Oh, Fireflight.
Fireflight, another great girl-led band. So, anyway, Gavin's always right there for me, isn't he?
They had a great song.
They did.
Yeah.
They had a couple great songs, yeah. Where are we going to go next here? Since that was song number 1, Gavin
needs to go next, for sure.
Talking about chick rock, I've got Super Chick.
Yes, it doesn't get more chick rock than Super Chick.
And
Two sisters.
Stand in the Rain, the great song.
stand in the rain, stand your ground, stand up when it's all crashing down, you stand through the pain.
They were huge back then. A great song. I don't think you can
So
go wrong
good.
with this one either. So far, I think we're 2 for 2 on great songs, and now that brings us to
Don't ruin
Betty
it.
Rock.
Don't ruin it.
Guys,
Don't ruin our chick rock.
Where's yours?
sweets.
Okay, that's what I didn't realize. I didn't know that we were picking out our favorite chick
We
rock.
didn't. It just happened that way. We didn't get together on this, so you had to have picked a great chick band
is
from
how
then.
we
I
do it.
didn't.
What'd you
picked
do?
I think I picked a one-hit wonder.
Oh.
Starfield with Everything is Beautiful.
Oh, for the love.
Don't.
Everything is beautiful, even when the tears are falling. I don't need a miracle to believe, even in the crazy.
Yeah, that's a good song. And that was that
that's
pop
great.
punk from that year, that time with Stellar Cart and other bands like
but is
that.
it just too manly for y'all?
It really is, actually. It's giving off masculine vibes, and I hate it. All right, so there you go. 3 songs. Flyleaf, All Around Me, mine. Stand in the Rain, Super Chick Gavin's, and Starfield, Everything is Beautiful, Betty Rocks. Who has the best taste in music? Which of those songs do you remember, and why did you love it? 855-33 WayFM if you want to help us now with Little Time Capsule Tuesday. Diana, welcome to a Time Capsule Tuesday. Now, we are going back to the year 2006, and Betty Rock, Gavin, and myself have each picked songs from that year. So we had my pick, All Around Me, Flyleaf, Gavin, Stand in the Rain, Super Chick, and Starfield, Everything is Beautiful, was Betty Rock's. So which of these 3 songs do you want to hear more of, and which do you love?
For sure, Super Chick.
For sure, Super Chick. So apparently Diana, Gavin, and myself are all in our estrogen era, and we picked some chick rock today. All right, nicely done. Stand in the Rain. Why did you want this song?
Well, that was the year that I married my husband, and it was a huge turning point in my life, and that song was like my anthem that year.
Oh, there you go. I'm curious if, like, Super Chick, Stand in the Rain, Don't Back Down, The Empowerment, they were the Christian version of what Taylor Swift is today to, like, mainstream kids.
You hit the nail on the head.
I think so. Well, you know what? This will feel good. I think it was a good choice from Gavin, the other girl on the show. And so here you go. Super Chick, Stand in the Rain on Time Capsule Tuesday. Thanks for the help, Diana.
Thank you.
She never slows down. She doesn't know why, but she knows that when she's all alone, feels like it's all coming down. She won't turn around. The shadows are...
Growing up in poverty has never been easy for children, but with the added challenges of the pandemic, conflict, and natural disasters, families around the world are facing an unprecedented food crisis. Unfortunately, those who are already hungry are now even more desperate. But by sponsoring a child through compassion, you can help provide life-sustaining essentials such as food and clean water. And with your compassionate support, that child can not only survive, but also flourish. You can find out how and choose a child to sponsor when you click on the compassion banner at wayfm.com.
Uplifting Way FM. If it's trending, streaming, or starring, Betty Rock's got it on The Rock Report.
With the recent release and success of the film Twisters, starring Glenn Powell, one of Wally's and Gavin's favorites.
He's the best.
We love ourselves some Glenn Powell. Kind of a new, fresh face on the action scene.
Well, people are asking, which films make the list for the best disaster movies? After seeing Twisters, does Twisters make the list?
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I will go see it because I saw Twister, singular, with Helen Hunt back in the day.
Yeah. Well, Twisters, the plural one, the one that came out with Glenn Powell, that one made it to number 4.
Oh, already?
I know, right? It beat out classics like The Day After Tomorrow.
Oh, I did not hate that movie.
Deep Impact.
Deep Impact, yeah, that was kind of a take on a different asteroid movie.
And a classic, Armageddon.
Yeah, oh, it beat out Armageddon? I gotta tell you,
so
when
good.
Bruce Willis is telling his daughter goodbye, I wept. I wept openly.
I mean, I did too. I did too. So now you might be wondering, well, what made the top 3 in the best movies of disaster movies?
Yeah.
Well, number 3 was the classic 1996 hit Twister.
Cow. I gotta go, Julia. We got cows. Another cow.
Actually, I think that was the same one.
Just going around in circles. That's
so
funny.
Good. Coming in at number 2 was a movie from 1972 called The Poseidon Adventure.
Oh, yeah.
We've got to stay here till help arrives. Help from where? From the captain? He's dead.
Every movie in the 70s or late 60s all sounds the same. We've got to stay right here. They all sound just almost British.
There's so many explosions.
That was a story of a ship, like a cruise ship that turned upside down.
It's turned upside down. Yeah, I watched the trailer to grab that audio, and I was like, you know what? I might watch this one.
I mean, it's old school like you.
So then coming in at number 1, it was released back in 1974, and it featured Paul Newman, one of my favorites, The Towering Inferno.
It's out of control, and it's coming your way.
See, like every movie sounds like Dragnet, like that old TV show. Bum, ba-da, he's coming your way. We've got to get out of here now. I tells you, let's get our getaway sticks and go. Well,
let's ask the film grad.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of these movies?
No.
The answer is always no with
because
them.
they're old.
Did you actually go to college?
Harry Potter in it, then it's a no.
Yeah, I definitely would not. Those are ones that I would not have thought would have been up in the number 1 and 2. I mean, we've had so many disaster movies. Now, a horrible disaster movie is the one with The Rock where everything is flooding. and he's
where
like California's flooding,
the earthquakes, and
earthquake. I think it's called Earthquake.
He's literally on a boat, rescuing people. Great movie.
No.
That was an absolutely great movie.
San Andreas.
San Andreas. What about 2012, where the whole world is just going up?
I never saw that.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I don't know.
San Andreas was horrible.
This is where my
was
film
Harry
school
Potter
came
in that
Stop
one?
Stop it.
I can't. I need movies that are going to be disaster movies to still be somewhat plausible. Like, it's got to still be plausible to me to make it enjoyable. The second it jumps the shark, so to speak, then just like those other ones, I'm out. I'm just out of here. I'm going to get out of here now.
The captain, he's dead.
He's dead. Let's go. All right, that's going to do it for your Rock Report.
Behold God stuff.
We all have questions when it comes to our faith. Hey, it's the Wally Show on Uplifting Way FM, and I don't think that God gets angry about these questions, and in fact, I think he wants them, you know. I came across this article that kind of dealt with some of these issues and like why that might be. Like, why is God cool with this? Well, God created us as humans to be curious, first of all. I mean, have a kid. You don't think we're curious? Have a kid. That would be 300 questions in the space of about 14 seconds sometimes because we're just wired that way. And so if we're wired that way as kids, it only seems natural that we would be that way as adults. And asking questions out of curiosity is a good thing. And you think about it too, like we have a bunch of questions. Like when there's a tragedy, we always want to know why, what happened, because we're curious by nature. And so I thought that was an interesting take on this. God is big enough for all of our questions, even our doubts. This author was saying like fear says that asking a question is dangerous, and fear tells us that the character of God will not be able to withstand our questions. But there's no level of question or doubt that would cause God to crumble. You know, like I think he's okay with you even going, are you even there? Do you exist? And if you do, please show me. There's so many people I've run into in the course of their lives that were at that moment and they're like, God, if you're real, I just need to see you. And he always shows up.
Well, and he already knows what you're thinking anyways. He knows that you're thinking those things, so why not just speak them out loud?
And here's something else that might make you feel good about the questions. Even Jesus had questions. You know, like Jesus questioned the plan of his crucifixion the night before when he was like, if there's another way, Lord, could we just do that, please? Like let's do another thing. Or when he was on the cross, like, God, where are you? Why have you forsaken me? So he's asking questions as well. And so a lot of times when I'm confused about something and I'm not sure, you know, what does it say in the Bible or what am I supposed to think? I try to look at the life of Jesus and you go, if he had these things and he had these questions or these thoughts, you know, or concerns or issues or whatever it is, then it's like, oh, then it's pretty natural that we would have that as well, and it's okay. And so the author of this thing went on to say like how to ask God questions. And so I thought this was kind of an interesting side note to this, because it's kind of like, yeah, it's okay to have questions, but then what kind of questions should you ask God if you want answers, kind of thing. And so we'll go through that here in 10 on The Wally Show.
Behold God stuff.
So I was looking at this article the other day about questions for God, not gods, plural, God, the God. Hey, it's the Wally Show on Uplifting Way FM. And, you know, they talked about how we're designed to be curious as humans, so asking God questions is okay. But then the article went into, like, how to ask God questions. I thought that was really interesting. They said, while I believe that we're invited to ask God questions, I also believe the heart behind the questions is important. Why do we ask the questions? Are we asking to glorify God or to show off our own arrogant intellect? Ooh. Ding.
Ouch.
A ding on me. Like, because there are times I feel like I'm in a debate with God and I feel like, how can you not see it this way? Like, I really believe I'm right here, you know? And it is, when I get down to it, it's my own arrogance of thinking either I know better or that God owes me some sort of explanation. And that's a tough thing for me. So when this article said that, I'm like, oh, wow, holy cow. And so here are a couple little tips here. Ask questions to know God better. Like, your questions should be that of seeking to know him better versus debating and things like that.
Man, that takes a lot of humility, though.
Yeah. Like, not to pretend that you're God and you have all the answers, but to seek him and to understand him more. And that's the arrogant part of it. And I think that that's the thing that I really struggle with. Ask questions, you know, that relate to serving others instead of just, you know, serving yourself, like how can I be better at this? Because if you start doing that kind of stuff, it's going to change the way you see things and the way you see life. And I don't think it's bad to challenge doctrine and things that you've been told if you're trying to truly find the answer and not just debate or not just get out of something. The reason for asking those questions is because you grow up and your faith is kind of what someone else handed to you. And at some point in time, it does have to shift to where it's like, okay, I believe this because I believe this, not because I was just told this. And I definitely have a question still to this day that I wrestle with that we have always just said. And so I'm going through and kind of saying, okay, is this because it's always just been said and we kind of got off the mark somewhere? Or is it this way because it's truth? And I
think that's healthy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Christians probably need to do that because sometimes you're just handed down your parents' faith and sometimes you have to just work it out for yourself and figure out why. I
do think the important thing is if you have questions to be trying to figure them out and talk to people that might know more than you.
Right.
And to actually seek out an answer versus just questioning. It's kind of like that person in a meeting that like shoots down everything, but then you're like, okay, what do you got? And they're like, oh, nothing. I just want to point out all the holes. And so it's that same way. Like if you have all the questions for God, that's fine. But be active in trying to seek them out by spending time with him and saying, hey, I need some illumination here. Or going to people that this is their life and they can give you good counsel on that. So I don't think you should feel guilty about asking God questions, but I do think you should be looking for those answers actively.
Oh, electronic mail.
If you ever want to get a hold of me, it's just Wally at wayfm.com. Best way to get a hold of me is that email. The same one all my friends have. This one was interesting. Said, hey, I was listening to the podcast last week while I mowed. I'm a potty, and I heard Gavin talking about Gavin not being his real name. And that is true. Gavin's real name is Caleb. But we changed it when it feels weird hearing it now after 5 years.
Not out of your guys' mouths. Out of all my family and my wife, totally normal.
Yeah.
You guys saying it's like it's like a ghost.
Well, because we renamed you 5 years ago. It's crazy that you've been here that long, and it doesn't seem like it. It seems like only yesterday that we were like, what should we call him? Because we can't call him Caleb, because every time I talked to him on the air, it sounded like I was saying Caleb. And obviously, I don't work for Caleb, and it should not even come out of my mouth on the air. And so I was like, which it just did 3 times. I'm so good at this. And anyway, so we changed his name, and he said, yeah, I know how that goes. I'm a weapons systems officer on the B-1B in the U.S. Air Force.
It's so cool.
I know. We go by call signs. Come on now. Let's bring it here. It's very much like Top Gun. I go by it so much that I end up referring to myself by my call sign. In my Bible even has that instead of my real name on it.
Whoa.
Yes.
What is it?
Well, that's what I instantly hit him back. I'm like, all right, you got me. What is your call sign, and do you just make them up, or are they given to you? And he says, yeah, they are something that is given to you by your unit once you earn them. And he said, mine is Bub. And I'm like, Bub? As in, like, how did you get that? And he's like, as in Bub Rub from the internet. And I had to go look up who Bub Rub is. This is Bub Rub.
The whistles got woo! It's that woo, 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 woo.
I don't know who that is.
So it was like, it was a trending video like years ago.
Oh.
You don't remember this?
No.
It was a viral video.
The whistles got woo! It's that woo, 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 woo.
That woo, woo. And so, yeah, somehow that became his call sign.
I have the perfect call sign name
for Gavin.
No,
yes,
please.
Okay.
And I got
it's
it from
cool.
and I got it from a listener recently that she
cool.
called him this.
Yes.
Well, she used the hashtag. Her name was Robin. Sweet pea, sweet pea, but you spell it P-E-E. Yours would be sweet pea.
Yeah, because Gavin's got that tiny bladder. Wee. Oh, so
shout out to Robin. Thank you.
All right, if you ever want to email me, Wally, just Wally at wayfm.com.
Sweet pea, it's okay.
And now for some good news.
Uplifting! Way FM, this here is The Wally Show with a cavalcade, a roundup of good news stories because the regular news is a bit of a bummer. There's a famous restaurant in New York called Serendipity, and they did something nice for a longtime customer this week. Like, this lady has been going there since it first opened in 1954, so 70 years. And so for National Ice Cream Day, they created a special dessert called the Barbara Silverstein Sundae.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's sweet.
It was 3 scoops of coffee ice cream, which I am a fan of. A lot of times chocolate and vanilla take the star role in a sundae, but coffee ice cream, come on now. Hot fudge caramel, salted caramel crumbs, whipped cream, so good. But I just love that they made this 70-year-old lady's day. I love when companies do that kind of stuff.
That's pretty awesome.
Good news, Giddy up. Betty, go.
There's a 26-year-old college student that she spent a year living at a senior living facility, and all she had to do was just share her love of music and play the piano for the residents there in exchange for free room and board.
I could see Betty getting on board with this.
Oh, easy. I couldn't play the piano. I mean, I could figure out
sing
something.
like an angel.
No, I don't even know about that. But I would knit with them. I would watch movies with them or play board games.
It wouldn't be a job. You would just be hanging out.
Hanging out with my friends.
You would be the belle of the ball there, too. Like, you'd be like, hey, Marlon, hey.
Nice dentures, Roger.
Gavin, good news, Giddy up, go.
AI might be able to prevent collisions between vehicles and deer here soon. 2 seniors at a high school in Virginia have been hard at work on a device that could steer deer away from cars. They've received a 15...
Wait, steer deer away from cars?
Steer deer away. So the system would recognize vehicles and deer through computer vision and then send out these pulses and biosound to turn the deer away. It's interesting because that just doesn't...
That's fascinating.
I thought they already made that.
I thought so too.
Wait, what? Who made that?
Well, I don't know, but my dad used to have them on his truck where it was like a little... you could barely hear it, but it was like a little...
This sounds like something that would be...
And it just goes on the whole time.
This sounds like something that might be on like the road, like on the actual road, and send stuff out to almost like if you hear the deer coming, if you hear the car coming, it would send them... in opposite, or send the deer away from the road.
Also sounds like something that was made up on Hee-Haw. Like your dad, you telling me a story. My dad already had this technology.
I'm telling you, he really did. And there was like a little switch in his truck.
I don't know how to tell you this.
Yes, and he switched.
That's from the future.
Let me just tell you this.
Well, it was supposed to send out wavelengths to keep the deer away.
I love Danny Ray. And I have a feeling when you were a little girl, Danny Ray would push in the cigarette lighter and go, hey, I'm going to hit the deer button. And he'd push in the cigarette lighter and then he'd go...
And I'd be like, wow, my dad is so cool.
Yeah, no deers around here, right, Too Blossom? I got you.
Well, that's the end, but it doesn't have to be. Check out our Aftercast. It's new stuff you didn't hear in the podcast. Be sure to rate us on iTunes as well as connect with us on social media. Just search Wally Show. And if you'd like to join our Facebook group made exclusively for you potties, the link is in the description of this podcast. Thanks to Colorado Christian University Online for supporting what we do.